Two Broke Bettors, presented by Garrett and Dallas Walker.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 6 of Two Broke Bettors. This weekend, got no football, so it's going to be all college basketball, but we do have a good college basketball slate, so we're in luck. With that being said, me and Dallas have continued to be on a roll. Last Tuesday, I went 3-0 with my favorites, and we've just been dominating overall with our picks from the videos. So tune in because we're here to make you money. With that being said, let's jump right into it. First, we have Villanova and UConn. Dallas, how do you feel about this game?
I'm liking it. I've got Nova minus 5.5. Let's just break it down into the stats. Here we go. Villanova 6-3 against the spread at home. A get-right spot. They just got beat by Marquette. These teams are very similar. They kind of have the same style of play, the same pace. Nova's just a little bit more efficient on offense, and then at home, I like them winning by at least 2-3.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that. For my pick, I'm going to go with under 130.5. The under at Villanova is 6-1 since the start of December, and on top of that, if you've seen any of Nova's scores at home, they dominate on defense. The highest amount of points, I think since the start of conference play, they've allowed at home is 62 points. And that was with St. John's scoring like 10 points to finish the game in what was a blowout. On top of that, Villanova's offensive efficiency is down the last 3 games. It's dropped to what would be considered 40th in the country from where they are 17th normally. And then on top of that, UConn's offensive efficiency has dropped in their last 3 games. It's dropped to 139th in the country from where they're normally 38th. So all of this adds up to what I think should be the perfect storm for an under. I'm going to go with 130.5. So under.
Okay.
All right. So next game, we've got Texas and Iowa State. This is 2 teams that just got dominated on Tuesday night. 2 teams that are incredibly inconsistent. And you think that they're awesome at defense one game, and then they'll go into a game and put up 75 and let the other team score 80. So I'm going to go with Iowa State plus 8. I wrote this is my least confident pick because both teams are incredibly inconsistent, and I don't see anywhere in the stats that shows any team has a head and shoulders above advantage on the other one. So I went with Iowa State plus 8.
Yeah, I like the pick. And it's like you said, this game is just a model of inconsistency. I did go with the over 121.5. I went with the under 121.5. Texas, their under hit. It's at 10-4 at home. Both teams, let me scroll a little. Both teams have an adjusted tempo rate of they're below the 200 mark. Both teams are. I believe Iowa State is in the 300 range and Texas is in the lower 200s. Iowa State, very inefficient on offense. Texas allows 49.4 points at home. That's the number 1 in college basketball. Iowa State only allowing 68.7 points per game. It's like you said, both these teams super inefficient. But this game will either not hit 100 or it'll hit 160. You don't know what you're getting. I'm going with the under though. I like both teams to struggle offensively.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see this. I mean, if you look at Big 12 scores this year, there's been so many games that have looked like Virginia basketball scores where they've been like 49-55. So,
right.
Yeah, it has not been very exciting to watch unless you're watching maybe Baylor or Kansas.
Yep.
Or Texas Tech. I do like watching Texas Tech. Moving on to the next game. This one is one of my favorites. Michigan and Purdue. I'll say be on the lookout for a lot of points. I'm going with over 148. The Michigan over is 4-1 on the road since the start of Big Ten play. Purdue's offensive efficiency has jumped up even higher than what it was at number one. In the last 3 games, it's jumped up to 1.237, and it's at 1.254 at home, which is extremely high. It's over 1/10 of a point higher than any other team in the country, which is insane. And on top of that, both of these teams stink at defense. They are both above 130th in the country in defensive efficiency. So that's why I'm going to go with over 148 points in this one.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes on this one, but I'll go with your pick because I've seen what you've seen, and that I have seen Michigan giving up a lot of points. And then I've also seen Jaden Ivey skyrocketing and through the draft, the mock draft. So that tells me, he's just leading their team and getting buckets.
Yeah, they've got plenty of good players. Sasha Stefanovic does not miss. They've got giants in the middle, and then they have Jaden Ivey to basically facilitate. So that is a incredible offensive team. Moving on to the next one. This one I think is for the battle of the Big 12 crown. We've got Baylor and Kansas. Baylor's a team a lot of people are out on right now, but I still love Baylor. This is a team I think is going to reach the Final Four. They've had injuries, at least 2 injuries for about the last month. At first it was Sohan, and then they had Flagler hurt, and now it's moved on to LJ Cryer and Flagler again. So what I will say is Flagler and LJ Cryer are game time decisions on Saturday. If they play this game, I think this is Baylor's big bounce back spot, and I think they're going to dominate at Kansas. For the second straight Saturday in a row, Kansas will be dominated at home. I'm not going to say who the first team was, Kentucky. But with that being said, Baylor money line, if those two play. If they don't, if one of them plays, at least take Baylor plus 2.5 in this one.
Yeah, I had the over in this one at 147.5. All I said was the 2 top teams in the Big 12, like you said, battle of the Big 12. I'm just expecting a really good high-scoring game, not a ton of defense. I know Baylor has been known for their defense, but Kansas's offense, they're just too high-powered. And I just expect the game to come down to the last second. I don't know about any domination like you, but I'm expecting a really good game here.
Maybe. I just think if all the pieces are back out on the court, it could get ugly.
You know what? I'll say this. If Kansas gets blown out again at home, you'll never see me bet on them again this year.
Okay.
Not that I'm betting on them, but I am betting on them to play at least okay so they can hit the over, but you get what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. I just wouldn't bet against Flo Thamba in this one. So moving on to the next game, USC, Arizona. Arizona looked dominant. When was this? Thursday night against UCLA in the rematch at Arizona. USC's looked sort of inconsistent, sloppy at times. I dove really deep into this, looked at USC's schedule. The top 2 teams that they've played this season are the number 34, 34th ranked team in the KenPom rankings and the 50th ranked team in the KenPom rankings. They beat the 34th ranked team in the KenPom rankings by 2 and beat lost to the 50th team by 10. So, with that being said, USC has not played anyone this season. They're going to Arizona. So I'm going to take Arizona minus 11. This could be a letdown spot after a big win against UCLA, but I think Arizona's played good basketball this year. USC hasn't played anyone. I'm going to go with Arizona minus 11.
Yeah, I'm completely agreeing with you. Every time I watch USC, it's like they're just kind of fumbling around. They're super athletic, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like they're incredibly well coached. I just watched their game the other night where they barely beat Bobby Hurley's Arizona State team that's below 500. So what I said, I haven't seen the total come out yet, but I said whatever USC's total points come out as, just bet the under. I'm pretty confident in that one just because Arizona has the number 5 adjusted defense in the Kim Palm. They're only allowing 60 points per game on average at home, while USC is averaging 68 points a game away from home. They're just really struggling with consistency. So whatever the total for USC comes out as, take the under.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with your point about USC. Anytime you watch them, they're sloppy. They just dominate people with their athleticism and their length. That's really all they do. They are not a fundamental team.
Right, and it really correlates when you bring up, like you did, who they've beaten.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. This is what everyone is going to consider the biggest matchup of the night, Duke and North Carolina.
I just knew you were going to say Alabama, Kentucky.
It's Duke and North Carolina. It's at North Carolina. I looked at the line. North Carolina has not been very good this year. They've really got dominated by any good team that they've played. But the line sits at 3 points. And with that being said, in the wise words of Admiral Akbar, it's a trap.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47. It's a trap.
UNC +3. Book it.
That's it for that one?
Yeah.
I got you. You know, really not much needs to be said. You're right. It's a trap. What happened last time when I was super confident in a Duke team and they were up 13 against Ohio State, had $200 on the game? What'd they do? They blew the game. What are they going to do in this game? They're going to somehow blow the game.
And
I've got
you're not even factoring in the Florida State game you picked as one of your favorites.
That's true. Twice.
Yep.
So with that being said, yes, UNC +3. And if you need a little bit more reassurance, UNC at least has a very high tempo. They score a lot of points. And they also only allow 63 points per game at home. Duke's points per game drops 7 points on the road. They don't get those foul calls. We know UNC does.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Definitely. Both these teams get an outrageous number of foul calls at home. So,
yeah.
UNC +3. And UNC plays a lot better at home, like you said. But just whenever I've watched them, they beat teams who they will probably lose to on the road at home. So, yeah, UNC +3s are picking that one. Moving on to honestly the best game of the night, Kentucky at Bama. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let y'all know something. We both said it. We think Bama plays up to the level of their competition. That's not it. They're frauds. They are frauds.
We got them.
They got lucky, and they hit 13 threes against Gonzaga. They got to play Tennessee without 2 of their best players. They got to play LSU without 2 of their best players. They got to play Baylor without 2 of their best players. They beat Houston on an outrageous call to end the game. And whenever they've played a healthy roster that's a very good team in Auburn, they have lost twice. And I think there's about 4 or 5 teams in the country that I'd go with 8 teams, about 8 teams that are capable of winning the national championship this year. I would put Auburn on that list. I would put Kentucky on that list. And then I would throw in Gonzaga and Baylor on that list. And I think Gonzaga just played them on a off night where Bama was having everything go in for them. And Baylor played without 2 of their best players. I think Kentucky at full strength is going to go in and cover the 1-point spread, UK -1 in this one.
I like it. I like it. With that beautiful rant being said, I will throw in my play. I went over 157. These teams are two of the top 10 in the KenPom efficiency. Alabama, number 17 in adjusted tempo. They like to just go, full speed ahead every time. Alabama's over is hit 7-1 away from home. Kentucky averages 87 points at home. Alabama averages 81 points away. That's one thing they do well. They score at home and away. They play both pretty well. Kentucky does have a really good defense this year, but Alabama can explode at any moment. And it's also, like you said, even if they're blowing them out, we've seen what happens when Kentucky blows teams out, is that they'll end up scoring. I mean, look what they did to Tennessee, topped the 100 mark. That total ended up at like 177 or something.
Yeah.
So I do like the over here.
Yeah, and if they would have let Kansas maybe get to 65, I think the over would have hit in that one as well. But
Yeah, that would have been nice of them.
they just had to dominate. That's what they do sometimes. Hey, can we stop for a second and talk about Kellen Grady? I think that's one of the most underappreciated players in the SEC. Every time he shoots it, I think it's going in. And it's not like just like a pure, like he does have a very pure shot, but it's got like a little bit of a weird, I don't know, like he handles the ball sort of weird whenever he's shooting it.
I didn't. It's his elbows do something weird, but it does look really nice.
Yes, but it looks pure every single time it's coming off his hands. And on top of that, it's not like some of the volume shooters. Like Auburn has Wendell Green, who's going to run up and just pop a three in somebody's face. He's coming off these screens, moving in midair and falling away and just swish every single time. I just had to throw that in there. I think he's very underappreciated in the SEC. I think he's a great player. I think he's our glue guy. He hits a lot of threes, so I like him. Something Kentucky hasn't had consistently is shooting, so it's nice to have that for once.
You know what? Now that you say that, that might be a good idea for a podcast. Maybe at the end of the regular season, we do some, who are the overrated, who are the underrated.
Yeah,
we can do
that. I'm down to talk about the overrateds anytime.
It's whatever you guys want as the audience.
Moving on, we're going to go to our unranked picks. First, I have Miami and Virginia. And Virginia is not a team I have targeted this year for the under, which sounds crazy because I think the Virginia under is destined to hit in almost every single game. But here it is. I'm finally going to do it. Under 129. The highest total for a Virginia home game this year against a Power 5 opponent is 122 points. The last 4 matchups between these two teams have went under. And on top of that, Miami under is 4-1 on the road since the start of December. So I think all those things are great. I especially liked that the total points for any Virginia home game against a Power 5 opponent hasn't went over 122 points. So why is it going to start with Miami? They don't have a great – they're sort of like USC, not very great fundamentally. They sort of they use their length and they use their athleticism to beat teams. Going on to my next one, I've got Oregon and Utah. Oregon was a team who the first 2 weeks of the season looked like the biggest frauds in college basketball this year. But they are finally figuring it out like they seem to always do. They seem to get a lot better at around March. And they are 7-1 since the start of December. 3-1 against the spread on the road. And Utah is 2-4 against the spread at home since the start of conference play. So I'm going to go with Oregon -3.5 here.
I like those. I like the first one especially because it's like you said, they just teams that out athletic teams really struggle against teams that are well coached, have a good system. We just saw what happened when they played Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not a super athletic team, but they're well ran. That slower tempo, like to get their offense set. So yeah, I like that pick especially.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I only went with one unranked. My part-time alma mater, MTSU plus 11, playing UAB. UAB is a very good basketball team. I will give them that. I just think that MTSU has been very undervalued this season. They're one of the better teams in the Conference of the USA. One of the things that stuck out to me the most is that MTSU's offense actually, their points per game goes up a little bit more when they're away from home. UAB does have a very strong defense, but I'm just expecting a single-digit game. I like when two of the top teams play down the stretch. I think it's going to be a good one.
Our sweet prince, MTSU.
Our sweet prince. Might have to sprinkle a little bit on the money line at plus 11.
Definitely.
Nice.
Definitely. I think we've got two unranked teams that have seemed to be automatic covers for us. MTSU, unfortunately, our fellow sweet prince Toledo fell tonight. I'm not going to fault them in this one. I was looking at it, and I think with a couple minutes left, Ball State had shot 30 free throws to Toledo's 9. There were 2 technical fouls called on Toledo and 3 flop warnings called on Toledo. So I'm not going to fault them. It was 5-on-8 out there. They'll get us next time. Moving on, let's just go to our favorite plays.
Okay.
I'll start out with mine. I've got Michigan, Purdue over 148, Kentucky -1, Miami, Virginia under 129, and then Oregon -3.5.
Okay. I like that. My 3 favorites: Alabama, Kentucky over 157. That's my number 1 favorite. The Baylor, Kansas game over 147.5. My second. The last one, the USC under whatever it is. My 3rd favorite.
So a lot of totals for you.
A lot of totals. I'm really targeting them this week. I've
Okay.
got my eye on them.
Okay, well, there's our favorite picks. Yeah, just big weekend for basketball. You got Duke UNC. I think Kentucky and Alabama is going to be a great game. Dallas, what's your prediction, just real quick? Auburn and Georgia. Is it going to be close?
Sorry, guys. Not quite. 11 a.m. game. They're going to be – Georgia's going to be wiping that crust out of their eyes. Auburn's probably going to be on their 6-hour practice. They just grind. And that's the reason they're number 1. That's what I heard. They start at 5 a.m. every day.
I don't know. I didn't look at the total for that game. I'm expecting for whatever it is to reach 200 points. Georgia's defense is awful, but they somehow score points. So
it's that free throw line.
That's
One
it.
of the top teams getting to the free throw line.
That's what they do. That's what they do. So with that being said, those are our picks for this Saturday's college basketball slate. Be on the lookout. We do have a Super Bowl episode incoming, and just be ready. There's a nice surprise. I think y'all are gonna enjoy it.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day, fun little event. So there's our picks. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Hope everybody gets to relax, watch these college basketball games, and just remember to gamble responsibly. And follow us on all social media at TwoBrokeBettors. Me and Dallas still have a gritty incoming whenever the Super Bowl is happening. We've got the gritty, so be on the lookout.